All right, this is going to be lesson 0-4. This is point slope form with parallel and perpendicular lines. So let's review our linear equation forms. So title this linear equation forms. We know two of them so far. Give me the first one that we learned. What was it called? The name. Slope intercept. Someone new. Give me the equation of slope intercept.
Y equals mx plus b.
Mx plus b. That is an m right there. Try to be. Let me make this nice and pretty. This eraser's a little bit too big. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. And gosh, my handwriting needs to get better. And then between Anya and arrow, b is the y-intercept. Perfect. All right, second one we learned. This was yesterday. This one was called what? What form?
Standard form.
Standard. And Anya, do you remember the equation for standard form?
The a was x and plus b was y will be c.
Yep, she got it. Ax plus by equals c. And I did capital letters for all of the variables that will hold a constant. So it'll be like 2x plus 3y equals 4 or something like that. And then finally, we have our third one today that we're learning, which is called point slope. Slope. And these are the three linear equations that you'll use over and over again. So point slope form is useful depending on what you're given. If you're given a point and a slope, you use this form. You don't need to do any recalibration to do slope intercept form, although you can always convert them into the other two forms if you forget how to graph point slope form. My job today is to not only teach you the form, but teach you how to graph it just from this form so that you can go faster. All right, and here is your equation. So y. This is always going to be a y, and I'm going to distinguish my variables with a different color. So give yourself some room. Y minus some variable is equal to, leave another blank spot, x minus, and then another blank spot. So I have a blank spot, 1, 2, 3 spaces. And if you want to change your color, like with a pen or something, you can. But this is going to be y minus y1 equals, and then I'm going to call this guy my slope m and x1. So notice that this is called point slope because I have a point and a slope. x1 comma y1 is a point and the slope is m. So if this helps you, let's write this down too. So this is slope. This guy there is slope. We know that. And the point, not plural, just the point, is x1 comma y1. So maybe a better way of writing this, let me write this a different way. The better way of writing this is y minus blank equals m. Actually, I'm not going to use m. I just decided we're using blank times x minus blank. I just want to know, I want you to know that every single time you're going to write the y and the x here, you're going to write the parentheses here. There's only 3 things that you fill in, and those are the 3 spots that you fill them in. I did them in a different color up here to try to show that, but I think this shows it a little bit better. All right, so how do we use this guy? So using point slope form. Point slope form. I can write, and I should have a hyphen here too. Point slope form. All right, here we go. Let's do an example here. So example. So here would be like a question that you might see. Write an equation for a line with a slope of -5. With the slope of -5. And containing the point Oh my god, my pen is just freaking out. Come on now. And containing the point. And I'm going to do 2, -3. 2, -3. Get some practice with negatives too. Alright, so. And obviously we're using point slope form, so if that wasn't clear, we're using point slope form to make this go faster. Otherwise you'd have to convert it to y equals mx plus b form. Point hyphen slope form. And the way that we do that is we just write it out. So we have our y minus, what do you think goes in here? Someone tell me. Y minus -3. That's the thing that got subbed in. We'll change this in a second to a positive. I know you guys all want to do that right now, but we can wait for a sec. And this is going to be equal to, someone new, -5. And then we always rewrite our x minus and something, and yeah, arrow gave us 2. Again, so this was our y1. Maybe I should do this in a different color. So this was our y1 right here. This was our x1. This was our x1. This was our y1. This was our m. This is our m. Everything is labeled. All right, and then, of course, if we want to make it nice and pretty, I'll do this in a different color down here. If it was pretty, it would be y plus 3 is equal to -5 times quantity of x minus 2. So not only do I want you to be able to generate this equation, but I want you to be able to see the equation and then go backwards. What is the point? What is the slope? That way you can graph it. So if I give you the equation, you're like, oh, well, I know that I'm going to start at +2. I take the opposite of this one. I take the opposite of this one. So I go +2, -3, and I have a slope of -5 to get my next point. Kind of using a similar thing to slope-intercept form. So what is our slope again? Let's look at, I just want like a brief little review note in here for slope. Come on, pen. Slope. What was the brief equation with the deltas in it?
Delta y over delta x.
Delta y over delta x. Sometimes we call this guy m. And this would be called what? So now this is the part where we're going to have to, what do I feel? I'm just going to do the equation. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This will be helpful for the next problem. All right, are we ready? I'm moving on. I see nodded heads. Anya's good. All right. I think I'm going to need more than the slide, so I'm going to make that ahead of time now. All right, let's try another harder example. So you can label this. Wait, did we do example on the side? We did example right there. So this is going to be harder example. All right. So this is going to be, write the equation for a line. Containing the points. And here we go. Give yourself some room because we're going to label these in a sec. So I'm going to do -6, -6. And I'm giving room on the top to write stuff. And -3, 1. Okay, so I'm only starting with 2 points now. I don't have a point slope. I have a point. All right, tell me what to do using what we just reviewed on the last slide.
Find the slope first by doing y2 minus y1 over x.
Exactly. So let's label what those are too. Which one do we want to say? Do we want to say this is point 1 and point 2?
Yep.
All right. So if we're going to do this way, then we're going to say this is x1, y1, and x2. Wait, I'm going backwards, aren't I? What am I doing? This is going to be x1, y1, x2, y2. And then using our formula that says it's delta y over delta x. Then we're just plugging and chugging at this point. So it's going to be 1 minus negative 6, all divided by negative 3 minus negative 6. All right, what is this fraction? Someone do it for us. 7 over 3. And it doesn't matter which one you choose to be 0.1 and 0.2. If they were reversed, you'd still get the same slope. All right, so your equation now is what? Do you remember point slope form? Tell me what to write. Right, so that's the general equation. Go ahead and just fill it in for me. Y plus 6. X plus 6. All right. So someone, well, I think it's pretty obvious. I'm not even going to ask that question. But the point that we're using is negative 6 comma negative 6. And notice how both the negatives turns into a plus. You kind of take the opposite of what you're asking for. And it doesn't matter if you use this point or the other point. Both of them will still come out the same. So I want to turn this guy just for some practice, and you can have some notes on the side. Convert to slope intercept. How do we convert this guy to slope intercept form? What do we have to do? Someone just shout out some steps. Tell me what to do. I want to convert it into y equals mx plus b form. How do I get that?
So we'd have to find the y-intercepts, right?
Okay, so you want to find the y-intercepts? If you want to do that,
Plug in for x and y and just have the variable b.
we're plugging in for x and y and have the variable be b. So I think maybe I'm not being exactly clear. I want to rearrange this formula, rearrange it so that it has this form. We don't really need to do too much math aside from removing stuff and maybe doing some distribution.
Yeah, so leave on the left only y.
Left is only y.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means I subtracted 6 from both sides. So now I have I'm just going to rewrite what you did, x plus 6, and then you subtracted the 6 from both sides like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it's not quite in this form yet. I have,
Would you distribute the 7/3?
would I distribute the 7/3? What does someone else think? Everyone else says yeah? Okay, let's do it. 7/3 times the x, 7/3 times the 6. And we have the new equation y equals 7/3 x plus 42/3 minus 6. One more step to finally complete y equals mx plus b form.
Subtract the 6 from
Subtract the 6 from which fraction?
the big fraction.
The big fraction. So yeah, combine like terms. So these are both constants. So how do we combine like terms? How do we add fractions again? A little bit of
It
review.
would be 18 minus 18 thirds.
Yeah, so
2 minus 8.
negative 6 is the same thing as negative 18 thirds because this could be over 1. And then you can multiply the top and bottom by 3. So 42 minus 18. What is that? 42 minus 18. I know the bottom is third. I did the easy part.
24? No. Yes. Maybe. Yes. No. I don't know. I think it's
24 is
24.
correct.
Yeah, it's 24.
I hear some confirmation it's 24. Anya and Arrow both agree. Okay, 24 thirds.
And then we can simplify that.
We can simplify that. Yeah, 24 thirds simplifies to 8 over 1, which is just 8. So just leave it as 8. So 7/3 x plus 8. Perfect.
Now it's the right form.
And now we know the slope again. And we can find our y-intercept. Y-intercept is 8. Cool. What else do we got here? All right, we didn't even hit the second part of the lesson. So remember, the lesson is called point slope form, and we're doing parallel and perpendicular lines. So let's get to that next part. Just call this parallel and perpendicular lines.
Is this the second lesson or the second part of the lesson?
Second part of the lesson, because the entire lesson has all of this in it.
Are we going to try to finish 2 lessons?
I don't think so. That's a little bit overambitious, especially given how long the homework is.
Is it 2 pages?
It is.
On the both sides.
It's double-sided. All right, let's just do a quick picture for parallel.
Is it 2 pages double-sided or 1 page double-sided?
One page double-sided. Parallel. What does that look like?
Parallel looks like the 2 L's in parallel.
They're not.
It does, yeah. So
That's how I remember it.
that's a good way of remembering it. So maybe in your notes you want to do it the way that Claire does. You maybe want to circle the what? Why am I still in?
That's a circle.
There we go. Maybe you want to circle the 2 L's in parallel because those are the 2 lines. But let me go ahead and make my line here. And to make sure that it is exactly parallel using technology here, I can just copy paste and drag it over here. So right now I have parallel line segments to make them parallel lines.
Arrows.
Got to get those arrows.
I'm sure there's like a function on there that you could just click and little arrows would appear.
Oh, there totally is. Like, I think this guy, arrow both.
Yeah, why don't you just do that?
Okay.
It's so much easier.
Handmade.
I mean, you don't have to delete, but like when you're making lines, why don't you just take the time?
You need to
go
figure out
that?
the keyboard shortcut for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a keyboard shortcut, that would make my life so much more simple. Okay, these are parallel lines. Perfect. What is the one note that I need to add on here? They have the same what?
Slope.
Slope. All right, and then we hit perpendicular lines on the right. And maybe you want to put like a little symbol right there. That's what perpendicular symbols is, or the symbol is. And let's go ahead and make perpendicular lines.
Perpendicular means they cross at an exact right angle, right?
That is correct. It means they cross at an exact right angle. I like how you said that. Let me try to make that there. So you do need to have a little note here that this guy is 90 degrees. And it might look like that, and I wonder, can I rotate things on here? I don't think I can, but let me go ahead and make another set, because some people mistakenly say that these are not perpendicular when they are. It just means that they're twisted. So as long as you have that 90-degree angle, you're Gucci, you're good. All right, and then this is a little bit harder. What do I have for the slopes?
They are opposite.
Close. Opposite. Opposite.
I don't know.
The fraction of the slope is flipped upside down. Inverted.
Upside down and inverted. Inverted isn't quite the right word. It's opposite, but yeah, it's opposite reciprocals. Which means, if you want to do a little bit of a note over here, that means if you had 2/3 for one, it would turn into the opposite and the reciprocal. So opposite means you have a negative, or if it was a negative, then you turn it into a positive. Basically, you multiply by -1 and take the reciprocal.
So if it's negative, then it becomes positive.
Right, so flip and change sign.
Wait, so I have a question. Is 0 an even number, or since it's imaginary, it's like neither even nor odd?
Zero's-
an imaginary number.
Zero's not imaginary, yeah. I mean, it's a complex number, but it's not imaginary.
It's the best number ever.
It is. But like, but is it an even number, technically?
I don't think it is, because the definition of an even number, as far as I know, is it's divisible by 2, and 0 is not
Yeah, that's
divisible
what
by
I
2.
Sure it is.
One of the little
0
one
divided
of
by
the
2
little
is 0.
8th graders is having a hard time coloring that.
Huh, I guess it.
It divides by 2 with no remainder.
But
This is a
0
good
divided by 2
question.
would
Okay,
be-
we will look that up right after we take our notes.
I don't think it is even. I think it's special.
I once did research on whether 0 is even or odd, but I forget.
It's
So
Tangential.
the reason that I'm introducing parallel and perpendicular lines right now is because it's really easy to switch the slope without having to affect the y-intercept, because you still have the same point when you flip the or when you change the slope using the perpendicular line. So let's look at kind of two really brief example problems. So how are we doing on time? We're at 11:36. We get out of here at 11:58. Let's make these examples all in one, so you guys do them at the same time. So examples, plural, examples.
X.
So x's, yeah. So I want you guys to write the equations for the lines containing the point. What do I feel like? I feel like -1, 3. And is, okay, so the first problem, I'm going to do this like 1. I'm trying to make this a P, parallel. And then number 2 is going to be perpendicular to. That, oh, just did not come out right. To the graph of, and we'll make it y equals -2x plus 4. All right, you may begin. I'll give you guys 30 seconds and then I will start working on it, but you have a 30-second head start to see if you can do it. And I think because I'm probably going to run out of room explaining this, I'm going to copy. Oh God, my computer's dying. It doesn't like highlighting so much stuff.
It's probably because recording the screen takes up a lot of resources.
That is very true. I believe that. All right, your 30-second head start is now complete. So,
I didn't even start
Me
yet.
neither, because I was just finishing writing.
oh,
Yeah, me too.
okay, fine. Another 30 seconds,
Yay!
which means you fast writers get a minute head start.
You don't actually have to make a graph.
Nope, you just have to find the equation.
Graph.
Because you know what the slope is, and I'll even label it here. Slope right here is -2. Oh my God, my pen is just like freaking out today. I don't know if it's because I'm using it too much, if I'm pressing buttons accidentally. The slope is -2. So here we go. Point slope form makes it pretty easy. You do y minus, okay, what is the point? Y minus 3 is equal to our slope. If we want it to be parallel, we need the same slope, -2. And then we need to do x, and then I'm going to do minus -1, so I'm just going to go +1, and I'm done.
And then it'd just be 1/2 for the perpendicular one.
And then,
So it would be 1/2.
exactly, it would be 1/2. So everything would stay the same, y minus 3, we don't have to change that because it's still point slope form is equal to, and now this is where the change is, 1/2. It is the opposite reciprocal, and remember opposite reciprocal means flip and change sign. And this is going to be, come on, x plus 1. Easy peasy. And if you wanted to graph these, you start with a point, and then you have the slope.
Is that it?
That is it.
Start writing our-
You can start writing your summaries.